everyone, welcome to Make It Sew, a beginner sewing series with SureFit Designs. I'm Glenda, sometimes referred to as Glenda the Good Stitch. In this particular lesson, we're going to talk about pockets, pocket styles, and the easiest one for beginners. Let's take a look at some of the pocket styles that you'll see in our garments. As we take a look at this blouse right here, this particular pocket is called a single welt pocket. And what you're going to see here is a rectangular opening, and that's where your hand goes in. And this diagonal piece of fabric right here, that's called the welt, and it's filling the opening. We also can have double welt pockets, and this is an example on these white pants that I've just recently sewn. And there you see the two welts. There's the top lip and the bottom lip filling the rectangular slot for the hand. And let's take a look at an actual colorful sample of that where you can see more of the pieces. The dark blue are the welts, the double welts that are filling the rectangular slot where the hand goes in. Of course, that mauve is the body of the garment, and the beige in the inside, that's the pocket bag. Now, where you'll find directions for doing the double welt pocket is in my blog, surefitdesigns.blogspot.com. The single welt and the double welt pocket actually are a little bit more on the intermediate to advanced level. So let's take a look at another style of pocket. On these pants, I have what I call the wedge angle or slant angle pocket. There's the side seam on the pants, and if you just look about an inch inside there, you'll see this edge right here, and that's the pocket opening. And of course, the pocket bag is on the inside. And you'll also see that on these culottes that I have right here. Let me turn the mannequin a little bit and see if you can see this. I know the patterned fabric, the paisley, makes it a little bit difficult. There's the seam allowance coming down the side, and over about 1 inch, there's the opening right here, and your hand goes in like that. So again, an example of a wedge or a slant angle pocket. On this jacket now, what I'm showing you is called an inseam pocket. And so if we take a look at the side seam of the jacket, you're going to see this little peekaboo of lining fabric right here. Well, that's actually the pocket bag that is inside the jacket. And of course, I did line the jacket with a contrasting fabric, so it's all coordinated here. If this inseam pocket had been done in the actual exterior garment fabric, then it would be black in there, and of course you would likely not see it. But right now, that little bit of lining is peeking through, and at any rate, that's the inseam pocket. Complete directions for sewing the inseam pocket are found in the SureFit Designs Pants Kit instruction book. And then we'll take a look at some jeans here. And here is a jean style of pocket up at the top right here. And sometimes this can be a Western shape, angular, or it can be a scoop shape like this. And this little pocket right here, that's called the coin pocket. And complete directions for doing the jean style of pocket, and where it can be attached to the zipper guard, so it kind of gives you like a girdle effect in the front, which holds the tummy in. These instructions will be found in our DVD called Jeans Behind the Scenes. And now we come to a little bit easier pocket, and that's the patch pocket, and that's what I'm going to focus on in this series, of course, for beginners. This is a variation of a patch pocket. It's just instead of the opening being at the top, it's at an angular side here. And instead of the facing going to the inside, like is traditional, which is what I will show you, my facing is going to the outside, and I did that particularly because that's the reverse side of this quilty fabric, and I wanted to trim the jacket that way. But in essence, that's just a big patch that's laid on top of the jacket front. And now we'll take a look at this shirt, and this is your traditional patch pocket that is laid right on the front of the shirt. You can actually do a patch pocket for like a jacket if you want to, or you could put a patch pocket on the back of your jeans. This is where traditionally the facing for the pocket is turned to the inside, and you may or may not be able to see this. I'll get the camera in real close here, but the stitching to hold this pocket on is reinforced at a diagonal wedge right here, and I'll actually be showing you how to do that. So now let's take a look at the patch pocket and how easy this is for beginners. I've got some samples over here, and the patch pocket can have different finishes at the bottom of the pocket. So here's a rounded edge. Here's your square edge, which has mitered corners on the inside, and I'll talk about that. And here's an angular corner on the pocket. And all of them have the traditional facing turned to the inside. So let's take a look at that on this sample. One of the things that you're going to see as I turn this sample over, in fact, if I was to turn them all over, the pocket itself has been interfaced. And this is a creamy white fabric. Normally I would interface that with white, but because I wanted you to be able to see it real well, I took a beige interfacing. Notice with the interfacing that I have interfaced only up to the seam allowance. All the seam allowances of the interfacing have been cut off. And the reason for that is so that when you start folding your seams in to finish off the raw edges, that interfacing isn't going to create more bulk in here. And this is the facing of the pocket. And what you're going to see that I've done here is pre-pressed the facing. I've turned over 1/4 inch at the top and gave it a light press. And then where the little clips are right here and right here, that's saying that that's where the facing fold line is. So that ultimately is going to come to the inside. But we want it nice and neat on the edges. So what you're going to do is, with the facing pre-pressed with this top fold and the fold on the crease line or the fold line of the facing, turn this over so that you're looking at the right side, and now you're going to fold that facing right side to right side. And let me just put my little half eyes on here because I'm going to be stitching and I need to see what I'm doing. So right on that fold line, I'm going to fold over like this, and I'm going to put a pin right here, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side and get that pinned. And so basically, again, what I said I was doing was right side to right side. And now I'm going to stitch from the top edge of that folded line all the way down and then across and all the way back up. So I'm going to start with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Because it's the top of the fold, I will backstitch this. I'm going to show you a really easy way to make sure you get a real 90-degree angle here. I'm going all the way down, and of course I'm sewing in a contrasting color of thread. You wouldn't be doing this in a regular finished garment. We'll lift that up, clip that off, and then I'm going to come across the bottom at 5/8 inch. And now I could have pivoted at that corner, but in order to make sure I've got a perfect 90-degree angle there to miter this, that's why I wanted to stop my stitching, pull it out and start again. And now I'm going to come up the other side. And so I'm not only marking where I'm going to fold this and fold those raw edges in, I'm also incorporating the facing up at the top. And we'll get to this point and just keep on going, and I will backstitch right there. Okay, now I'm going to turn this facing to the right, or to the inside. But before I do, I want to do some trimming and grading. And I have taught you that in a previous lesson. But I'm going to start right here. I'm going to trim it like this, and I'll trim just that top piece. And then I'm going to trim out like this. And then I'm going to grade this shorter one right here and cut that down. And then I'm going to angle the corner. And so that reduces the bulk for when I turn that facing to the inside. I'll do that one more time. I'm going to trim down by about half. I'm going to take just the top one and finish it off, cutting it. The reason I'm not cutting this under one quite so low is because I want to make sure that there's enough of this seam allowance to turn inside so it ends up being nice and smooth in there. And then I'm going to grade one edge and clip at a diagonal. Now we can take this and turn it to the inside, and don't forget your point turner. Again, I've shown you this before. Use it to go right into the points of the facing fold up at the top. And I've got two beautiful points up there. Now, you will take this to your ironing board and you're going to press this long edge and press this long edge, and then you're going to press this edge up. And we'll come back and talk about mitering that in just a moment. And now what you want to do is stitch across the top to hold that facing down. If we take a look at the right side of all of these, I've stitched across the top to hold the facing down in place. So we'll go to the sewing machine now, and when the width of any facing is wider than what the markings are on your throat plate, always remember that you can use this little strip of painter's tape there. And I'm stitching very close to the folded edge of the facing. And I likely will backstitch this, just 1 or 2 stitches, and stitching right across that facing. And backstitch at the end. And there the facing has now been top stitched. Okay, now let's take a look at how to miter these corners. We'll take a look at this actual sample right here. And here, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to press the long edges in to the inside. That's another reason it's nice to have your 5/8 inch marking right here, so that it gives you a nice crisp guideline for turning those seam allowances inside. And then once you've got the long edges turned in, open them out and turn the short edge in so that it looks like that. Then what you're going to do at the corner is take the corner of the pocket and you're going to take it, fold it diagonally to the inside so that this folded edge right here, that fold or crease line, that's going to line up with the stitching or your crease line on the long edge of the pocket, and that crease right there is going to line up with this stitching line. So as I fold it in, that is a 45-degree angle right here, and then you fold the long seam allowance over and then the short one up, and it forms a perfect miter. And you can see that with this striped fabric, that it's forming exactly the way it's supposed to. And so that's how you finish off a nice neat corner on a square pocket. And let's take a look at this blue one, because that's got some angles on it. So on the inside, how this one was pressed was I took the angular piece, I pressed that up first, and then, and I did that on both corners, press that piece up first, then you fold the long edge of the seam allowance in and press it, and then that short edge up and press it. So again, you've got that beautifully formed angle at the bottom of that pocket. Now, when you're doing a curved pocket, that gets a little bit trickier. Here, again, I've stitched the 5/8 inch seam allowance edge all the way around, and again, it's a really beneficial thing to do that because it gives you that marker to help you get it absolutely perfect going all the way in. Again, if you were using the same color of thread, then if any of it showed, well, it wouldn't be very visible. Now, to get your curved edges of your pocket in, what you need to do is put in long basting stitches, and that's what these are right here. So basting, again, is the longest stitch length your machine will go. My machine goes up to 6 millimeters long. Yours might only go up to 5 millimeters long, but halfway in the middle of that seam allowance, and you can see that I've started the basting right about where the curve begins all the way up to the other side. And then you just gently pull your basting up to ease the fullness of that curve into the inside of the pocket. So when it's turned over, those are my basting threads, when it's turned over, you get a really lovely curve on the curved corners of your pocket. Now let's take a look at how to attach this pocket onto the garment. And I should say this, when you are sewing a pocket onto your garment, this is a step that you'll want to do when the garment pieces are still one-dimensional. So in some of the other videos, I showed you how to do darts and pleats and tucks, and they are all done when the garment is flat. Nothing else has been added to it. No shoulder seams or side seams have been sewn. Well, it's the same with the pocket. You want to add it when the pattern piece is flat and not been joined to something else, because as soon as it becomes three-dimensional, then it becomes more challenging to set something like this in place. So this square pocket is going to sit right here, and we'll just get this pinned in place. And so this could be like the breast pocket on the front of a blouse or a shirt or a hip pocket. Now what we want to do is that diagonal reinforcement stitching that's at the top of the facing where the pocket adjoins to the garment. And in order to show you how to do that, I've got this handy little diagram here that shows you where to begin and where to end. And let's just follow along here. Number 1, begin here, stitch up like this, pivot, stitch 2 across, and then you're going to pivot, and then number 3, you're going to stitch all the way down the side of the pocket, and 4 is stitch across the bottom, 5 stitches up the other side, 6 stitches across the top of the facing, and 7 goes down to the end here. So let's take a look at how to do that. We'll take this over to the sewing machine, and the orientation. Well, I've got to get my pocket turned around like this so that I can start that diagonal piece of stitching right here. Get this out of the way. I don't want it creating a little knot at the underside. So I'll just set the needle in. I'm not going to backstitch here, and the reason is that I don't want it to get a little bunch of threads there. Just in case it does, I will pull the threads to the inside when I'm done. But I definitely need my needle in the down position. So I'm going to come up at that angle and stop within 1/16 of an inch away from the top edge of the facing. And then I'm going to stitch across, and looks like 3 stitches is going to do it. That didn't move. There we go. And then I'm going to, needle is in the down position, I'm pivoting, and I'm coming down now this side. And I'm stitching within about 1/16 of an inch away from the folded edge of that pocket side. And I need to go slowly and carefully as I come up to this corner, because I need to pivot right at the bottom, right there, raise the presser foot up, turn the fabric around the needle, and begin stitching. Again, I'm trying to stay within about 1/16 of an inch away from the folded edge of the pocket. And go slow as you come up to the corner, and needle in the down position, raise the presser foot, turn the fabric, lower down, and again that's called pivoting, and now stitch up the other side. And you're going to go all the way up to the folded edge of the top of the facing, and within 1/16 of an inch, needle down, raise the presser foot, pivot, and I'm going to stitch for about 1/4 of an inch like this, and then I'm going to pivot one last time and I'm going to aim down to this point, which is the end here point. And once again, when I get to my ending position, I'll raise the needle up. I'm not going to backstitch because I will pull these threads to the inside. And this is what it looks like. In fact, I'll just really quickly, if this lifts up easily, get those threads out of view and pull those threads to the inside, at which point I would tie them off and maybe put a little bit of fray check on that knot just to make it nicely reinforced. And let me get that loop and pull it out. And so there you have it. It's a perfectly finished pocket. There's that beautiful diagonal. It gives it lots of reinforcement at the top. And so there you have a patch pocket with perfectly mitered corners, and you've seen how to do the other corners, whether they be rounded or angular. And I know that as a beginner, this is going to be one of the easier places for you to start when you start attaching pockets into your garment. If you're not already a part of the Sure-Fit Designs community, I do invite you to join us. And it's just 3 simple and very easy steps. Number 1, go on over to surefitdesigns.com and join our newsletter list. And when you join, you're going to end up with free Getting Started gifts. Number 2, make sure you like this video by using the subscribe button and the like button right below it. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/SureFitDesigns. And thirdly, join our community, go to Facebook. We've got a Sure-Fit Designs page and a Sure-Fit Designs user group page where people from all over the world are interacting with one another. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.